7th. February 7th, 2024. It's 3:27 a.m. Central Standard Time. There was a World Conference on Time when we needed to know how to show up for and participate in a schedule of trains that could transit, such that we needed to know how to create something that would become time zones, so that we could synchronize our watches and hold a common turning of the hour, hold a common time that shifted by an increment, and we made 24 time zones for the 24 hours around the planet, as I understand it. And so there was a World Conference on Time around the turn of the 20th century. Consequent. What is it and how is it to be affected? Not necessarily only by receiving data that an event has happened, but being more connected to it locally or in your personal life. Are we aware of how much fabric has been decimated? Have we forgotten not just a great amount of damage, but a great amount of happiness and ease and openness to hope that has been taken by grooming that has degraded our expectation of humanity and human kindness and what America and the government of America can be counted on for? We have seen a degrading of trust. We have seen a degrading of trust. We've seen a degrading of trust. I remember hearing about someone asking for a pardon. And that's exactly what Donald Trump just did, and was soundly rejected. He just asked for a pardon, and the world told him no. It's been stunningly silent. It didn't have to only come from courts, and it's been incredibly dangerous how little conversation and feedback is actually communicated, and how out of the loop or separate from or antagonistic to the loop of humankind and democracy the disgraced former president and other factions within government are. That we are being farmed we are experiencing a variety of pressures of genocide upon indigenous people, in particular indigenous women and girls, upon trans people, people in the LGBTQ community. We have in Florida this, and a Nazi governor in Florida terrorizing black people, terrorizing people of color, terrorizing people who are gay and trans. Literally othering and using state money and bandwidth to foment white supremacist patriarchal terror. That's what we're seeing from Ron DeSantis. People who do not blench when they do something terrible are very dangerous. That's how Donald Trump got in, without a conscience, and being able to say something abominable like, they're sending rapists, as Marjorie Taylor Greene essentially quoted and exponentially extrapolated upon, I think today or in the last few days. This kind of abominable, catastrophic boundary violation that Trump and Hitler and other dictators are known for, that narcissists are known to perform, to grab someone by the genitals so that you inform that body they will be coerced or seek to, stalk for the most desirable grooming candidate and for absolute takeover. But it starts with grabbing the Sudetenland in someone's pants, apparently. And just like people incriminated themselves asking for a pardon, Donald Trump just, in a disguise, in a hoaxy disguise, just asked the legal system for a pardon. And he was told no. And it is incredibly rare that that may be a break, an actual clap of reality that breaks at least a fractal of space of open disintegration of hokum, that there's some break, some lapse in the bandwidth of permuting falsehood. And the reality distortion field doesn't necessarily get weaker. The reality distortion field of Trump and those apprentices of the falsehood, it doesn't necessarily get weaker, but some people may have snapped out of it a little bit, because as long as the physics of a world seem impossible to break, and it seems inextricable in that universe we may be stepping out of, it didn't really quite seem possible that anyone would tell him no. And so many mechanisms of connection there's a lot of rupture to our fabric and a great amount of malice on the part of the former president that we're having trouble processing, and we may not be able to process for a long time. But it seems like most people are still in the place of, doesn't he, if he only, and he doesn't and he won't. He is a dark triad predator. He is incredibly dangerous, and he likes it, or is pathologically driven to drill. Baby drill people for conquest. He is not trying to win. He is trying to devour and crush and break. And yes, he wants to be carried out on people's shoulders, but he also wants to kick them in the jaw from on top of their shoulders. He wants to do the unthinkable and have it be holy because it's him. And he has told us that again and again. His every statement and act says, I have absolute authority. And asking for immunity, telling us that he has immunity, was the closest thing he could do, that he could muster to begging for a pardon. Essentially telling us that he had the right to do that for himself, and that we are just a walk, just like Stephen Miller apparently has been fondling Charlie Kirk to believe, that it's just going to be easy to install fascism like a snap, because we're already submitted and conquered and just wrecked. And I don't think that that's true. I don't think that we're wrecked. I think that we're off of the project. But we can find the script that we began so imperfect, but also with parts of it that would work if we work with equality that's written into it, with equity. We are diverse, and we need to be inclusive. Anybody who would tell us not to be awake, not to be woke, is interested in devouring people who are too sleepy to protect themselves. And it's time to stop saying they wouldn't do that. That's not paranoia, that's working with available evidence. And I think our title card on broadcast might be incomplete, but that's all right. We'll amend it. But it is interesting. It is interesting to see the confessions of J.D. Vance and Matt Gaetz that was interesting. Like confessions, more and more confessions coming in of people having been part of or supported the insurrection, or in fact, remaining supportive of an ongoing insurrection. It's strange that a number of representatives such as Matt Gaetz and J.D. Vance, obviously deeply bigoted and unprincipled people, it's not hugely surprising that they would do this, except one would think no one could be that horrible. But but they are. And they're coaxing others to try to erase the insurrection, the worst attack since, 1812 upon the Capitol. There is there's something a bit wrong. To see the obvious, the deep falsehood within J.D. Vance, the toxic Nazi hate within Matt Gaetz. It is simply abominable. And I don't really know a great deal about Elise Stefanik except what a blistering liar. What a, with her chest, believing and putting a verisimilitude of genuine wholesomeness into Nazi bullshit. How dare these people try to use reality distortions to simply rewrite fact? She actually says that is a fact, that there was not, that he did not engage in insurrection or rebellion. That is a fact, she says. Rogue Democrat operatives. Yeah, the intensity of just the wall-to-wall falsehood that these people, that J.D. Vance, Matt Gaetz, and Elise Stefanik are engaging in, this is treasonous. These are confessions. These are confessions of ongoing insurrection. Because what was the weapon of insurrection? It was the falsehood, but it was the lure. The falsehood was the hook. What was the little lure? What was the yummy nugget on the hook? I would posit that, I would say that the yummy nugget on the hook was a promise of something that it wasn't merely Trump's big lie of fraud that was simply a mirror image of his fraud to suggest fraud. It wasn't merely that big lie and all of his fraud. The bait was a false promise of proof. And after gaslighting people who knew that he had the most powerful job in the world and should be able to send an email if there were overwhelming proof of overwhelming fraud against him, that he could not, or Giuliani could not somehow manage to find one scrap so that they're fostering this grooming that we would believe something so impossible, such that by believing that somehow the invisibility of the falsehood of the hoax against Trump, that the invisibility starts to prove how pervasive it is. Well, see, you can't see, look at how good they're hiding this. Like, it is just a cat of falsehood eating its tail. And if he had at any point produced anything in the 61 court cases or at any time that actually showed a reason to investigate something, any actual proof. Not of something that even just happened once or twice, but he said that was pervasive. And yet he couldn't find anything. This shows a Groundhog's Day, because how does this go on for 2 months? How does it go on for 2 months that we don't say, like, yeah, we can't keep doing this, you didn't pay the rent, inverse, no, I can't pay the rent, I have the proof, I didn't send it yesterday, I sent it tomorrow, the proof is in the mail, like, whatever weird thing all of us abused people go through, saying, well, why don't we have proof? That was a week ago. Like, okay, well, it's got to be a reason. And days go by, and a week goes by, and a week goes by, and now it's December 10th, and we're like, it's been over a month since he said he had proof. Like, the sheer degrading disrespect and mammoth gaslight abuse, really terroristic silent treatment abuse of just ghosting us on producing any proof. That is the height of narcissistic abuse. Such that we are literally Groundhog's Daying ourselves, saying, oh yeah, no, it's not 2 months that we've been waiting all the way up, ginning this anger and rage while he's claiming the FBI isn't helping him to take a photograph of what he says is all over. Like, it's batshit. Total batshit. Complete reality distortion, batshit of deplorables, of people taken over by deplorable intolerance and hoodwinked by a person without conscience. But we have to break out of the fog of hokum that this reality distortion vandal has saddled us with. We have to come out of this. We have to wake up. Who is telling us not to be woke? Alex Jones? Someone who terrorized murder victims? Elon Musk? Someone who terrorized murder victims? Marjorie Taylor Greene? Someone who terrorized murder victims? Someone trying to start lynch mobs? To continue to hold the weapon of insurrection, which is the lie that there was fraud in 2020 other than Trump, without producing proof, which was the original bait on that fucking weapon. For somebody to hold that, for Kari Lake to hold that lie and say we have proof and not produce any, that is a fucking confession. That is as good as a MAGA swastika. It is time to say it. If you are holding that weapon of the falsehood and claiming, I just know there was fraud, I just know, and it's reasonable to mention something like that as an idea. But after we have seen a country nearly torn apart by it, it is gaslight and submitted, broken selfhood to be trapped in a limbo of, no, we cannot call a spade a spade. Fuck that noise. Fuck that we have been degraded to accept being terrorized noise. Donald Trump is a dark triad predator. We never should have let Chris Matthews handle that fucking debate. And Hillary Clinton failed to protect the presidency. She failed to say, no, you will not keep us in suspense. Work on keeping your pants in suspense. You can leave the stage, or you can apologize and promise to obey the will of the voters and not sow degradation to our expectations of democracy. You will pitch in, not try to weasel new loopholes, as you say, well, it's not my fault. There are loopholes. Of course I'm going to use them. Well, if there are loopholes, of course I'm going to use them. I have absolute authority and absolute immunity, right? I mean, you're so dumb to have a loophole. I just want absolute authority to do whatever I want and never be punished. I mean, what's wrong with that? I mean, the nation will be crushed if I don't have absolute dictatorial control and impunity, he says. That is totally batshit. That is batshit. If you can't interrogate something of such distortion as a distortion at some level, you have submitted to the falsehood. And I believe that reaching out for help to find facts that are not alternate facts, and reaching out for help and reaching inward to listen to yourself, to your own intuition, to be calm with your own mind, I think you will find if you're able to be with your own mind during this time of incredible betrayal trauma, you'll find that some obvious questions come to mind, and that drilling down on any one of them will find a cancerous, intolerant dictator in Donald Trump. And I believe that you, whoever you are in an abusive relationship with the disgraced former president. I believe that you are in an abusive relationship with the falsehood. You are in an abusive relationship. Shocking boundary violations are one common grooming tactic of a narcissist or dark triad personality. If someone in your life points into a camera knowing you'll be looking at the view screen and pulls their finger like a trigger, looking into your eyes, saying, I could shoot someone in the street and not lose anyone, it is a good indicator of a bad situation. You are in an abusive relationship. Who has leveraged
climbed upon a fog of falsehood. Who has donned the falsehood? Who is the falsehood?
That's right, Scoop Troop. Remember to have your handy dandy 5-letter Darbo card, DARBO, deny, attack. Well, if you're running into denial and baseless attack, you might be running into a reversal of victim and offender by someone you're trying to hold accountable, by someone seeking to deny reality for their own spoils. You may be interacting with the falsehood. We are in an abusive relationship. We are in an abusive relationship with someone who can reach out and send us an individual email, who can send us all an email to terrorize us, and has, and does, who is telling us with a Nazi parrot on his shoulder, parroting those words, that he and Project 2025 are coming with Agenda 47 or else. We are dealing with the necessity of dispatching and ending the threat posed by the falsehood. We are the reality distortion fielding, and we are all unsafe until Donald Trump is dispatched, disabled from harming other people. He is a danger to himself and others. And it is time for us to clean up our mess and get him the mental health care that he needs. Hokum. Hokum. It's just like every day, the ship of evidence surely is arriving. He just said, it wasn't hours ago that they said they had proof. They're sending proof. Well, maybe tomorrow. Oh. Has it been another day? Why would he not send proof? Oh. Gosh. Is it another week? And he's mentioned many times how people are stopping him from sending proof or not helping him find the proof that he says is everywhere that he has and hasn't sent. Anyone who is not too tenderly on the hook is still going to have difficulty looking at the abominable gravity of that lie. Of these lies that he has fostered for personal gain and for conquest. You believe victims and you believe predators when they tell you they will be a dictator. It's less wise to believe them when they say they were just joking. He wouldn't do that is not a good mantra with a dark triad predator. He wouldn't do that is not safe when dealing with a dark triad predator. And the legendary, insufferable, and apocalyptic falsehood they do benefit from the idea that we are somehow living a movie. They do benefit from the idea and the trance of magical thinking that some in MAGA have, that somehow we are watching a movie and there are crisis actors as opposed to an actual threat of fascism from the man who said he would keep us in suspense and did. Who is the falsehood? the false promise of proof that he knew would never come because it never existed. The false promise of proof creating a constant Groundhog's Day for people who couldn't face entertaining the possibility that this was all Donald Trump's hoax, was all Donald Trump needed. Continuing a limbo that made people of their own accord continue to give him, oh, there must be reasons, oh, there must be reasons, and leaning into the idea that he was somehow being kept from sharing proof if it existed. Otherwise, it would be very clear to people that he had told us he would keep us in suspense, and then when he needed to, did it. He prepared us through grooming for years of degrading our expectations of America and honesty and fair play. And just as he has proved that if nobody is keeping people honest, that people are less honest, we're seeing that if a person who tells us it's smart to take advantage of things then tells us they want no rules at all, they don't plan to use that for good. They don't plan to use it for good. No one plans to use absolute immunity or absolute authority for good. No one. Certainly not someone who has shown malice and hatred and a willingness to joke about being a dictator or joke about rape or joke about violence. He is a dark triad predator. And the big lie, baited with a false promise of proof that would not ever come. That was the weapon of insurrection, and anyone still holding that weapon of insurrection should be arrested. To hold that weapon of a lie and fervent belief in fraud and an unwillingness and plan of withholding proof to capture and foment rage and direct that, we do need to consider banning election denial or some kind of protocol such that people are not simply trying to cause havoc through confusion and falsehood. There has to be some kind of standard of adhering to fact, or we are lost. We have to be able to shut off the microphone, if only for a moment, to reset when someone is unwilling or unable to conduct themselves in a way that allows procedure and debate and examination, that allows the mechanisms and intercourse of democracy to happen. Things that get in the way of that are problematic. And things that get in the way of that look like fascism. Things that matter do take time. But that doesn't mean that the things we're allowing ourselves to be sapped of our energy by, hours and hours and hours of fear within, are worth it. Just because we are trapped within a field of falsehood that saps our energy and time does not mean this is how we're supposed to be spending our time, distracted from stewarding our habitat from collapse. at least collapse of being a habitat that can sustain or would be hospitable still to us. The news is Donald Trump, Roger Stone, and Stephen Miller remain at large. Roger Stone, of course, recently heard on tape calling for the illegal assassination of and kidnapping of U.S. congresspersons, calling for political assassinations and pure malicious terrorism, illegal acts of violence. And this pernicious falsehood donor claimed that the recordings were AI and went on about his way. And that is Roger Stone, and he remains at large. A positively mobster thug who relishes being a real-life penguin. He is a murderer, and likely with his own hands. These are the speculations of the mystery font. And the news is Donald Trump, Roger Stone, and Stephen Miller remain at large. Donald Trump, Roger Stone, and Stephen Miller remain at large. If you encounter any of these people, take care, Scoop Troop. Take care to remember your Darvo card. Remember that you may encounter someone like this, or indeed the falsehood that if you run into baseless denial and attack, you may be running into a reversal of victim and offender attempt. Darvo. Donald Trump, Roger Stone, and Stephen Miller remain at large. That breaking news again, still true, newly again today. Donald Trump, Roger Stone, and Stephen Miller remain at large. Radio Science Brain. The mystery. Font. Mystery. Font. You are more than a brain. You are the brain's innate, permeant ideation. Parallel against hate, parallel against pain. Radio, science, brain. Radio, science, brain. Innate relay, mind made. This container for pain. Resolute, remain. Radio science, brain, innate relay, mind made. This is the candidate ace. This is the time and place. Radio, science, brain. Good gray, good gray, good gray. Shh, us. Good gray. We are the reality distortion fielding. Good gray. Shh, us. Shh, yes. Shh. Good gray. Radio science brain. It's different every time. Why? Why lie at all, anyway? And why lie about something if it seems like the only point is just to be able to do so?
I made a speech. I looked out. The field was, it looked like 1.5 million people. They showed a field where there were practically nobody standing there.
The new White House press secretary, Sean Spicer, gave his first press briefing. He was also highly critical of some media organisations of the way he felt they had misrepresented the number of people who'd attended Friday's inauguration ceremony.
No one had numbers because the National Park Service, which controls the National Mall, does not put any out. This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period, both in person and around the globe.
It does not excuse, and you did not answer the question.
I did answer your question.
No, you did not. You did not answer
the
question of why the president asked the White House press secretary to come out in front of the podium for the first time and utter a falsehood. Why did he do that? It undermines the credibility of the entire White House press office
No, it
on day
doesn't.
one.
Don't be so overly dramatic about it, Chuck. You're saying it's a falsehood, and Sean Spicer, our press secretary, gave alternative facts to that.
This was the largest ever.
And having a good relationship with Russia is a good thing, not a bad thing.
You've said you have no investments in Russia, but do you owe any money to Russian individuals and institutions?
No.
None.
The primary thing I did with Russia, I bought a house in Palm Beach at a bankruptcy. It was a bankrupt, person. I bought it from the banks. I bought it for about $40 million. I sold it for $100 million to a Russian. That was probably 5 years ago, and that was primarily it.
You partnered
Now,
with
will I
Russians on the
sell?
Soho Grand. the
Will I
Toronto-
sell? Oh, many years ago. I don't think they're Russian. I think there were other people, but there were various partners. Will I sell condos to Russians on occasion? Probably. I mean, I do that. I have a lot of condos. I do that. But I have no relationship to Russia whatsoever.
No debts.
No debts. I have very little debt to anybody. I don't need debt. You know, it's very interesting. I'm so liquid, I don't need debt. And if I need debt, if I want debt, I can get it from banks in New York City very easily.
You know where I'm going to take this next. Americans could be assured on that if they saw your tax returns.
My tax returns are very simple. They're under a minor audit, routine audit, as they have been for many years. Every year I get audited. Now, I don't know if you get audited, but I have friends
I've
that are
been
very
audited.
wealthy that never have been audited. I say, do you get audited? I get audited every year. I'm under a routine audit, like routine. And I have been for years, every year.
But there are
If it's
several years that
finished,
are no longer
George,
under
here's
that
very
audit.
simple. Yeah, but they're all linked. It's called the link. It's very simple. If my audit's finished, that's great. Now, I have to tell you, I watched Mitt Romney 4 years ago. He waited till September to give him, just before the election. They made him look so bad. It was so unfair. I actually think he didn't lose because of the 47%. I think he lost because of a couple of really minor items in a tax return where he did nothing wrong. So it is unfair. But I will say, when I'm finished with the audit, I'll do it. And if
Richard
that's
Nixon
before the
released his,
election,
even though his were under audit.
don't use Richard Nixon as necessarily the guide, okay? I mean, you know, it's an interesting person to use, but don't use it.
We are the reality distortion fielding. Interestingly enough, the falsehood can be perceived. We can even hear at the font, at times, draw the falsehood near. Oh, yes. 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 Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The falsehood knows. The falsehood knows. The falsehood knows. This is the renovation of love's imagination. Here within the mind of democracy, we are, and have been for some time, experiencing massive distortions in the field of reality. Who is the falsehood? We may never know. This is the reality distortion fielding. You are the reality distortion fielding. We are the reality distortion fielding. That's right, Scoop Troop. Keep those Darvo cards handy. Throw them up over the view screen if you need. Deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. This may be utilized against you by someone seeking to evade accountability or to break reality to coerce you. This is the method employed by Donald Trump. This is also the method produced by someone who may or may not be known in identity to Donald Trump, and so many others who are frequently seemingly hoodwinked by the falsehood, as we all have been. So many times an errant comment is traced back to the person who has said it, say Matt Gaetz or Ali Stefanik or J.D. Vance, some pernicious spreader of rumor and white suspicion. You will notice that they will work to coerce reality towards their end. Donald Trump may not like that someone he finds himself attracted to owns their own body. He may decide to declassify some part or all of a person or another kind of body, like say a community or a company or a country, and may or may not decide it's necessary to let anyone know that they have been repossessioned. We are dealing with someone who sees reality distortions as a way to crush opposition. We are dealing with a dark triad predator. And they may use Darvo, Scoop Troop. And I love you enough to keep you aware that this might be a handy card to keep in mind, or to even have a physical version of. Because if you can hold something that reminds you to be mindful of what might be used against you in a time such as this, to keep your head about you, and to know that you have some things you can depend on, including your intuition and your growing ability to foster your own deeper executive function and calm and resilience. You are the reality distortion fielding. And here in the mind of democracy, good golly, it's hokum-a-rogerific. It's just a bit thick with it. Not so much as at other times, but there is some pervasive fog of hokum, I have to admit. And we're going to bring the falsehood closer into view. Yes, let's go back, not terribly long ago. Let's go back, just a wee way back.
They conceded two major points that were they were right in doing it. I don't think they had much of a choice, but they're very, very big, very powerful points. And I think we're doing very well. I think it's very unfair when a political opponent, is prosecuted by the DOJ, by Biden's DOJ. So they're losing in every poll. They're losing in almost every demographic. Numbers came out today that are really very mind-boggling if you happen to be Joe Biden. And I think they feel this is the way they're going to try and win. And that's not the way it goes. And it'll be bedlam in the country. It's a very bad thing. It's a very bad precedent. As we said, it's the opening of a Pandora's box, and that's a very sad thing that's happened with this whole situation. When they talk about threat to democracy, that's your real threat to democracy. And I feel that as a president, you have to have immunity. Very simple. And if you don't, as an example, if this case were lost on immunity, and I did nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong. I'm working for the country, and I worked on very hard on voter fraud, because we have to have free elections. We have to have strong borders. We have to have free elections. Those two things almost above all. And we found tremendous voter fraud. We have a list of it. We have some findings if you want it. The press doesn't like reporting it, but we found tremendous voter fraud, determinative voter fraud. But we worked on that. That's what I was doing. And they were talking. But they're very, very big, very powerful points. And I think we're doing very well. I think it's very unfair when a political opponent, is prosecuted by the DOJ, by Biden's DOJ. So they're losing in every poll. They're losing in almost every demographic. Numbers came out today that are really very mind-boggling if you happen to be Joe Biden. And I think they feel this is the way they're going to try and win, and that's not the way it goes. That'll be bedlam in the country. Precedent, as we said, it's the opening of a Pandora's box, and that's a very sad thing that's happened with this whole situation. When they talk about threat to democracy, that's your real threat to democracy. And I feel that as a president, you have to have immunity. Very simple. And if you don't, as an example, if this case were lost on immunity, and I did nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong. I'm working for the country, and I worked on very hard on voter fraud, because we have to have free elections. We have to have strong borders. We have to have free elections. Those two things almost above all. And we found tremendous voter fraud. We have a list of it. We have some findings if you want it. The press doesn't like reporting it, but we found tremendous voter fraud, determinative voter fraud. But we worked on that. That's what I was doing. And they were talking about after. Well, nothing has to do with after I left. It was during the time. And that was what they really focused on today during the appeal. And they concede that, and everybody concedes that. And if it's during the time, you have absolute immunity. So we'll see see how it all works out. We have a great argument. We have an argument where they conceded two major points today. In fact, I think it's probably a concession. You have to ask the lawyers, Todd, if you'd like to talk about it. But they conceded 2 points that I think were, by normal standards, if it weren't me, that would be the end of this case. But sometimes they look at me differently than they look upon others, and that's very bad for our country. You had a very big event yesterday, as you saw, in Georgia, where we had a very momentous day in terms of what was learned and what they've conceded. Momentous day in terms of what was learned and what they've conceded. They conceded 2 major points that were they were right in doing it. I don't think they had much of a choice, but they're very, very big, very powerful points. And I think we're doing very well. I think it's very unfair when a political opponent, is prosecuted by the DOJ, by Biden's DOJ. So they're losing in every poll. They're losing in almost every demographic. We had a very momentous day in terms of what was learned and what they've conceded. They conceded 2 major points that were they were right in doing it. I don't think they had much of a choice, but they're very, very big, very powerful points. And I think we're doing very well. I think it's very unfair when a political opponent, is prosecuted by the DOJ, by Biden's DOJ. So they're losing in every poll. They're losing in almost every demographic. Numbers came out today that are really very mind-boggling if you happen to be Joe Biden. And I think they feel this is the way they're going to try and win. And that's not the way it goes. That'll be bedlam in the country. It's a very bad thing. It's a very bad precedent. As we said, it's the opening of a Pandora's box, and that's a very sad thing that's happened with this whole situation. When they talk about threat to democracy, that's your real threat to democracy. And I feel that as a president, you have to have immunity. Very simple. And if you don't, as an example, if this case were lost on immunity, and I did nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong. I'm working for the country, and I worked on very hard on voter fraud, because we have to have free elections. We have to have strong borders. We have to have free elections. Those 2 things, almost above all. And we found tremendous voter fraud. We have a list of it. We have some findings if you want it. The press doesn't like reporting it, but we found tremendous voter fraud, determinative voter fraud. But we worked on that. That's what I was doing. And they were talking about after. Well, nothing has to do with after I left. It was during the time. And that was what they really focused on today during the appeal. And they concede that, and everybody concedes that. And if it's during the time, you have absolute immunity. So we'll see how it all works out. We have a great argument. We have an argument where they conceded 2 major points today. In fact, I think it's probably a concession. You have to ask the lawyers, Todd, if you'd like to talk about it. But they conceded 2 points that I think were, by normal standards, if it weren't me, that would be the end of this case. But sometimes they look at me differently than they look upon others, and that's very bad for our country. You had a very big event yesterday, as you saw, in Georgia, where the district attorney is totally compromised. The case has to be dropped. They went after, I guess, 18 or 20 people. They wanted to go after a lot of other people. They wanted to go after senators. She was out of her mind. Now it turns out that that case is totally compromised. In fact, they say she's in far more criminal liability than any of the people she's looking at. So I think that when you look at what happened, where they pay a lawyer with absolutely no experience $700,000 who happens to be her lover or her boyfriend, and then they go on trips and vacations together, very expensive vacations together. And the reason they paid him so much, because he was after me, because this way they can afford to pay him a lot more. It probably passes certain tests. And that's a very sad thing that happened in Georgia, and I would imagine that case is going to be dropped. Every legal analyst that I've spoken to, every legal analyst that I've read have said that case is so compromised now it has to be dropped. very good people were very badly hurt by that case. It's a shame. Very good people. People did nothing wrong. They did nothing different than what Democrats have been doing for years and years and years, whether it's slates or anything else that you're talking about. But they were very hurt, and it turns out that she profited tremendously on that case. It's illegal. What she did is illegal. So we'll let the state handle that. But what a sad situation it is. I want to thank everybody for the fairness. We've been covered very fairly. Most people agree that we're entitled as a president to immunity. If you didn't have immunity, as an example, Joe Biden with the prosecutor, we're not going to give you $1 billion unless you get rid of the prosecutor that's after the company or his son or whoever it is they're after. But he wanted that prosecutor gone, and he's on tape saying it. Or you could say the horrible job he's done at the border where our country is being destroyed, or the horrible situation that took place. The lowest moment, I think, in the history of our country was Afghanistan, the way we withdrew. Not that we withdrew, but the way we withdrew. With shame, we surrendered.
America, we need to talk. We've grown apart these last few years. It's not you, it's Mississippi. It's Mississippi. Pew Research report.
Aha. Was that the falsehood? Was that the falsehood we just saw? It almost looked like the falsehood. I'm going to need to take a look at that again. I wonder, could that be a resonance we can pick up again here? What exactly was that? I think we need to take a look. Yes. It is the mystery font. Mystery font. Mystery font. Mystery font. Mystery font. Good gravy. It's the mystery font, behavey. Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The falsehood knows. The falsehood knows. Why? We're at the mystery font 42. How did this come through? Here, our neighborhoods have liaised. And we are now connected with the falsehood. Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The falsehood knows. What does it mean to preside? To preside means to be in charge. Yes, indeed, to be in charge. Interestingly enough, to preside or to sit before, to preside over, to sit over, to be in charge of, president, the one who presides, that was chosen as the title for our top executive official, our top executive officer, because different than someone on the height of monarchy or with some intense martial sense to them, one who presides as if over a meeting, to be in charge of that gathering, to be in charge of that project, of that mission, of that presidency, to be the one who presides, who takes an oath to hold the watch. That someone says, I will preside. I will be the one you call. If I'm not on the wall looking out myself, I will have someone there for me. I will be the eyes on the wall, or the eyes on the wall will report to me And when I hear something is wrong, I'll know what to do, and I will know how to tell you. That is what the oath means. The oath to be the one who presides means you are the attention that has the watch. You know who to trust when you sleep. You know who to trust when you want to watch Wheel of Fortune. You know who to trust when you're taking a nap. You know who to trust when you are in the Situation Room. You know who to trust when someone asks you a question. To be the one in charge, that was the job President Trump had when he was president. And in that duty and under that heading, he brought a gathering together. He invited a massive protest over which he presided as the one who had called that amphitheater of democracy together, leveraging the presidency. Thus, as president, he presides over everything and is in charge. And he was the one presiding over that party, that insurrection, that mass of people he called together with 2 months of Groundhog's Daying. The proof will be there any minute. And if not for the lure of a promised proof that, well, surely the email is just taking a while to get here. He must have pressed send in November when he told us he would send the email or send the proof of invisible fraud that's everywhere, and how invisible it is proof of how ubiquitous it is. And if I can't send any proof, it must mean someone is stopping me. Somehow that was believable from someone with the most powerful job in the world, as per many estimates, the most powerful job in the world. Let's go back just a little ways. Let's take it back to the former president Here we go. I think this will be a good one to work with, to take a look at. Here we go.
Communism. We stand on the shoulders of American heroes who crossed the oceans, settled the continent, tamed the wilderness, laid down the railroads, raised up the great skyscrapers, and won 2 world wars, defeated fascism and communism, and made America into the single greatest nation in the history of the world, and the best is yet to come. and proud. We stand on the shoulders. In the face of great challenges this year, Americans showed incredible grit, strength, tenacity, and resolve. And together we achieved truly historic victories like nobody ever thought possible. To defeat the China virus, we launched the largest mobilization since World War II. We transformed our factories to build tens of thousands of ventilators and millions of masks virtually overnight. Nobody thought it could be done. We ignored the experts who demanded open borders, and we shut down travel from China and Europe to protect our citizens, and we built the wall. We pioneered groundbreaking new therapies and treatments, and we saved millions of American lives. Over and over again, we were told it would be impossible to deliver a vaccine by the end of the year. All of the experts said, absolutely unthinkable. Trump is exaggerating. It can't happen. And we did it long before the end of the year. They said it would take a medical miracle, and that's exactly what it is. Years from now, they'll be talking about it. They'll be talking about this great, great thing that we did with the vaccines. A truly unprecedented, amazing medical miracle. Normally, developing a vaccine takes up to 10 years. Thanks to Operation Warp Speed, we developed a vaccine in just 9 months. We've already begun a nationwide vaccination program, and we're sending the vaccine all over the world. The world will benefit, we'll benefit, and everybody's calling to thank me. Our most vulnerable citizens are already receiving the vaccine, and millions of doses are quickly being shipped all across our country. By early next year, the vaccine will be available to every American, and shortly thereafter, it will be delivered worldwide. We will end the pandemic once and for all. This is one of the most extraordinary in the face of... In the face of great challenges this year, Americans showed incredible grit, strength, tenacity, and resolve. And together we achieved truly historic victories like nobody ever thought possible. To defeat the China virus, we launched the largest mobilization since World War II. We transformed our factories to build tens of thousands of ventilators and millions of masks virtually overnight. Nobody thought it could be done. We ignored the experts who demanded open borders, and we shut down travel from China and Europe to protect our citizens, and we built the wall. We pioneered groundbreaking new therapies and treatments, and we saved millions of American lives. Over and over again, we were told it would be impossible to deliver a vaccine by the end of the year. All of the experts said, absolutely unthinkable. Trump is exaggerating. It can't happen. And we did it long before the end of the year. They said it would take a medical miracle, and that's exactly what it is. Years from now, they'll be talking about it. They'll be talking about this great thing that we did with the vaccines. A truly unprecedented, amazing medical miracle. Normally, developing a vaccine takes up to 10 years. Thanks to Operation Warp Speed, we developed a vaccine in just 9 months. We've already begun a nationwide vaccination program, and we're sending the vaccine all over the world. The world will benefit, we'll benefit, and everybody's calling to thank me. Our most vulnerable citizens are already receiving the vaccine, and millions of doses are quickly being shipped all across our country. By early next year, the vaccine will be available to every American, and shortly thereafter, it will be delivered worldwide. We will end the pandemic once and for all. This is one of the most extraordinary scientific, industrial, and medical feats in history. Everybody has it as that. That's what they're marketed down as. And we can never let people forget where it came from and how it came. We're very proud to be honored, and all of the people that worked so hard on it, we have to be remembered for what's been done. I want to thank all of the workers, scientists, doctors, and members of the military who helped make Operation Warp Speed possible. Before the pandemic, we built the greatest economy in the history of the world. Now we are doing it again. We've actually built, if you think about it, 2 great economies, before and after. We passed $3 trillion in relief, the largest financial aid package in history. Through the Paycheck Protection Program, we saved or supported more than 51 million American jobs, and we're doing numbers now like nobody's ever seen before, including having the highest stock market in the history of the world. I froze student loan payments, stopped evictions, suspended payroll taxes. We have slashed the unemployment rate from 14.7% all the way down to 6.7%, and a lot of people thought that the 14.7 could be 32 or 40 or 45%. And now we're down to 6.7 and heading a lot lower. We made it dramatically better than experts predicted just a few months ago. Our economy is growing at the most rapid rate ever recorded, 33.4% last quarter, and much faster than the nations of Europe. Nobody can compete with us in terms of going down less and going up by far the fastest and the best. Whenever America is challenged, we always rise to the occasion. We are bringing critical medical manufacturing back home to America. We have secured our borders and paused immigration to protect American workers. We lowered drug prices for the first time in 51 years. And after years of endless foreign wars, we are signing historic peace deals in the Middle East. It's all ending in the Middle East. We have to hope it keeps going. It's so easy if you know what you're doing. In this season of joy, Americans have so much to be grateful for. We're all blessed to live in the greatest country ever to exist on the face of the earth, and we have made it greater than ever before. As long as we remain loyal to our nation, devoted to our citizens, and faithful to Almighty God, we know that the best is yet to come. God bless you, and God bless America.
The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts aren't factual actually. The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts aren't factual actually. The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts aren't factual actually. The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts aren't factual actually.
Good gray. Us. Good gray. Good gray. Us. Yes. 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 We are the reality distortion fielding. Radio science brain is new every time. It is different. It embraces freestyle. It is about to happen. Oh my, oh, but I, and then I, what, me, yes. Good gray, us indeed. Good gray, us. Good gray, us. Good gray, good gray. Good gray, good gray. Us. Yes. You see, any of us might need to know where we are or what that is or what this means. Anyone might need to know. Anyone might need to know. Even you might need to know. Who is the falsehood? Who has donned the falsehood? Who is the falsehood? Good. Good, Gray. Shh, us. Good. Good, Gray. Good. Good, Gray. It's clear, isn't it? That pervasive hokum I think this is a resonance of the falsehood, is it not? I don't like that. Maybe I have an idea. Why, yes, that would do it. That would do it indeed. And are these costume pieces, but this was on him just a minute ago. What is this place? How did those get here? Oh! That's what this place is? That's what this place is? That's what this place is? Oh. Oh.
And having a good relationship with Russia is a good thing, not a bad thing.
You've said you have no investments in Russia, but do you owe any money to Russian individuals and institutions?
No.
None.
The primary thing I did with Russia, I bought a house in Palm Beach at a bankruptcy. It was a bankrupt, person. I bought it from the banks. I bought it for about $40 million. I sold it for $100 million to a Russian. That was probably 5 years ago, and that was primarily it.
You partnered
now,
with
will
Russians
I
on the
sell?
Soho Grand? the
Will I
Toronto?
sell? Oh, many years ago. I don't think they're Russian. I think there were other people, but there were various partners. Will I sell condos to Russians on occasion? Probably. I mean, I do that. I have a lot of condos. I do that. But I have no relationship to Russia whatsoever.
No debts?
No debts. I have very little debt to anybody. I don't need debt. You know, it's very interesting. I'm so liquid, I don't need debt. And if I need debt, if I want debt, I can get it from banks in New York City very easily.
You know where I'm going to take this next. Americans could be assured on that if they saw your tax returns.
My tax returns are very simple. They're under a minor audit, routine audit, as they have been for many years. Every year I get audited. Now, I don't know if you get audited, but I have friends that are very wealthy that never have been audited. I say, do you get audited? I get audited every year. I'm under a routine audit, like routine. And I have been for years, every year.
But there's several years that are no longer
George,
under
here's
that
very
audit.
simple. Yeah, but they're all linked. It's called the link. It's very simple. If my audit's finished, that's great. Now, I have to tell you, I watched Mitt Romney 4 years ago. He waited till September to give him just before the election. They made him look so bad. It was so unfair. I actually think he didn't lose because of the 47%. I think he lost because of a couple of really minor items in a tax return where he did nothing wrong. So it is unfair. But I will say, when I'm finished with the audit, I'll do it.
Richard Nixon released his, even though his were under audit.
Don't use Richard Nixon as necessarily the guide, okay? I mean, you know, it's an interesting person to use, but don't use it.
The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts are factual actually. The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts are factual actually. The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts are factual actually. The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts are factual actually. The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts are factual actually. The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts are factual actually. The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts are factual actually. The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts are factual actually. The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts are factual actually.
We are here at the Mystery Font in North Minneapolis, Minnesota, United States. North America. Earth. The Milky Way. Alrighty then. I think that Is that to do it? Maybe we are like that. There we are. Donald Trump, Roger Stone, and Stephen Miller remain at large. Good gravy. They remain at large. And at this time, it becomes a moment of forward reflection. Radio, science, brain, come the mindedness, come the mindfulness, the mindness made. Radio, science, brain. Particle matter wave, particle matter wave. Be named, be sane, be wax from wane. Today. This is the mindness made this. Be game. Today. This is the mindness ache. This is the clarion innate. Liminal braid substrate. Cataloged up to date. Updated daily. It's hectic. It's happening. Hatch by hat trick by this clip limerick. Sticked niche I'm in with so thick I get sick of it almost, but it's quicker than me and I'm quick enough to be over the moon with it. It's happy, it's flappy, it's scrappy, it's sappy. It's sapiency. It's maybe all that I have to be. Radio science brain comes naturally. You are the sentient frame and chariot. You are the mindless maybe game inherited. You are the kindness came in space. Let's clarify it. Maybe this may be able to pay forward the way. Radio science brain, from my brain every day, from my brain I chronicle the patternicity of my array. The mind may pollinate, sentient ideation. This is the Idiac, this is the Radiac, liminal fact updates. Let's pack and unpack. Might, may be acting mighty, might not be might, but flighty, contagious. This actual sentinel intelligence, it's happening, it's up to us. Might, may be colonist, mind may defeat ableists, mind may be game to play and enlist in the resistance. Imagine this is gift. Mindness may be game to play. Imagination aid. Radio science brain. Radio science brain, radio science brain, radio science brain, this array to array. Illumination may be play, let's not be prey to predator today. Let's activate this playful agency of creativity. What will come? Let's find a lyric stream to breathe. Imagination, wreathe me a garland, be happy. Kindness came to party. Imagination may be game to play. Maybe pull up the volume so you can hear intonation anyway. Imagination aid, might, may this contagion contain radio science brain. Imagination candidates might capably aid your mind's freight, be game to play. Imagination may be game to play today. You are the radiation, you are the radiation, you are the radiation of love's imagination. Awake, woke, be safe, imagination ace. Particle matter wave, mind blaze for the human race. Imagination ace. Imagination ace, imagination ace, be named radio science brain. This is the conscious ache, this is the consciousness science. This is the conscience came in case. This is the mind is made. Love for the human race. Imagination ace might make. Imagination made, imagination aid. Mindness may make from the ace. Minus made, imagination aid. Minus might make, minus ace might make, minus made, imagination aid. Particle matter wave, now like love might be made. Be game to play today. Now like love might be made. Be game to play today. Imagination may be game to play today. Imagination may be game to play. Relay. Mindness may be ace. Imagination ace just might, just maybe game today. Mindness ache, the mindness ache, the candidate. Imagination ace might make. Imagination made, imagination aid. Imagination made, imagination aid. Imagination made, imagination aid. Particle matter wave, now like we might be saving something. Let's be waving some ringing, some resonance. Let's bring something. Particle matter sing, imaginationing, imagination visioning, imagination decisioning. Kindness came to something. What have we been for training? Imagination may be game to play today. Imagination may game to play today. Might may be mighty, but love is love's way. Imagination ace is actual. It's kind of the place in the time. Imagination will capture rhyme. To rise, imagination wise. Imagination will comprise the mindless. Imagine I wear this. Imagine I'm weightless, but I will state this plain. Radio science brain from the particle matter wave we maintain. This is the mind germane. Where is the intonation? I want to be on tonic. I want to be hypnotic. And I want the optics of actual haptic phonics. This is the mindless may contain. Radio science brain, imagination aid. Imagination made. Imagination made, imagination aid. Pretend that love is sane, pretend that love is sane. Radio science brain we made. We made the mindness came to play. We made the mindness make love maybe game to play today. You are the kindness that came. I'm following your genius without a penis. What I actually mean is this: you are the radiation, you are the radiation, you are the radiation. You are the radiation, you are the radiation, you are the radiation of love's imagination. You are the radiation, you are the radiation of love's imagination. Be nature, your creature creates. Be nature, you ape to make imagination ape. Imagination aim. Imagination aim. Imagination aim. Imagination aim. Imagination aim. Imagination aim, imagination aim. Radio science brain, this is the kindness became today. Radio science brain, pretend that love is sane, pretend that kindness came in case. Pretend that love is sane, pretend that came can come, pretend that come just came. The time and place, imagination aim. Remain always the changing agent of change. I like you the way you change. I like you the way you are. I like you, radio science brain. I like you the way you are. That is, so long as we're being kind and respectful to one another. The world shouldn't be a difficult place for you. There should be time and place and space and safety and respect for you. You belong. There's nothing more important than you knowing you belong. On the substrate of trust that it's safe to be, we can really be. It's not utopia to make things better. Better is just better. And diversity and equity and inclusion are not only good for us, without them we don't have democracy. Without the ability to focus on such things, we are walking backwards into a white supremacist, patriarchal, terrorist hellscape. Without diversity, equity, and inclusion, we are subject to people who would have us be drowsy or asleep or brainwashed, or in fight or flight or freeze or fawn or feign or free panic space, where we can't remember there's a way out of the room, we can't remember there's a room, we can't remember. We're just terrified and in reaction. We can do anything. Scarcity myth is ending because of what your brain brings. Imagination rings, imagination brings just these things. And you're spinning mad plates of clay into sane plates today. You're bearing sentient freight, and they coalesce as they gyrate. Lumina radiate. Lumina radiate. Lumina radiate. Lumina radiate. Lumina radiate. I think I'm going to use a different track. Having trouble hearing sometimes with that really, really low note that I miss intonation. Hopefully it didn't get too spicy on the off intonation. It's not that that's a bad thing. I like to be aware. It's a process, of course. This, interestingly enough, is Radio Science Brain. Particle matter wave, be nature your creature aches to aim an ape, imagination ape. I'm an ape, I'm a reptile, I am a sentience, a smile, I'm coming, and the while of me is kind of stylishly wending splendiferous. It's kind, this omnibus. Baby, 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 Radio Science Brain Imagination Aim Germain. Radio Science Brain Imagination Aim Germain. This is the kindness came insane. Imagination aches to compare itself, might just contain active nature, be nature, your creature aches to ape. You are the scient craving, imagine it waving for and across landscape. You are the kindness came, and the greatest of all escapes, imagination ace, the greatest of all time escape. Radio Science Brain Imagination Ace contain the goat escape. Imagination ape, imagination ape, imagination ape. Imagination ape, imagination ape, contain the goat escape. Imagination ape be named radio science brain. Radio science brain be nature your ache. Would aim to ape imagination ape. Imagination aim. This ape is active. This may be contracted, but I'm contrasting. I'm elastic, I'm outlasting. This made us, but we can be courageous. We can be kindness. Imagination may be gay and fussy, might be sane, might be naughty, might capably aim. Be made of your resonance. Be mindful of your conscience. Imagination aim. Be named. Radio science brain. Mind cadence. Mind cadence. Mind cadence. Radio science brain. Germane ideation. We relay today in all ways. In the line of imagination contains kind aid. If we play, if we're not prey to predator, but play, we wake to be safe. Only a predator would tell you that woke is not prey. Be sane. Only a predator would tell you that wokeness is prey. Be careful. Only a predator would tell you woke is where you should beware. Imagination ape, relay that you should be awake. Because woke is how we know we are safe. Trust the ones who watch over the building while you sleep. Who has the watch? Who has taken that oath? Who won't keep you in suspense? Who is on the watch? Who is on the watch? Who has taken it? Who has taken the watch? Can you be a dictator just for a day, just for once? Or is that how we find lost confidence? Well, it might be. It is. It's Radio Science Brain, everybody! And you're all here. You're all here. You're all here. Well, in some sense, you are all here. Because this room, of course, this is the mind of democracy. Interestingly enough, like any lean-to or shack or mansion or shack mansion or manshaction, I can tell you any of these structures house part of the mind of democracy, of whomever is there, and maybe of else when and who where. It is true that some places have a more distinct liaison, a kind of nexus happens, apparently. I did not know this to be the case, other than the thought that maybe, since we imagine liberty being in the Statue of Liberty, one would think that the imagination of liberty, the imagination of democracy, our liaised hive mind, the morphic resonance field, and some nexus or meeting point or an instinct to create an activity based on that collective sentience. What if that found itself becoming in the cranium cavity and a capacity of the greater massive body, albeit not built to be a body, somehow contorting and bending matter and flux of fractal to vibrate metal like a voice and turn like a body to shore and sing. There are different ways in which the nexus here happens, and sometimes it truly is with influxes of text or recordings or even voices. However visitors come, this is, at this point in North Minneapolis, this time and place holds quite mystery and quite purchase and quite anti-disastry. There's an iceberg that's told us it's coming. And how do we apprehend such thing? How do we foster a better future? How do we foster a significantly slightly better world together? How do we improve? How do we take the training wheels of America for white people off and make sure we don't leave anyone behind as we use truth and reconciliation and an uptick of diversity, equity, and inclusion to process our American apartheid? And those of us who can be leaders in that, or followers of the leaders, those who are ready for truth and reconciliation. Because if someone doesn't lead and mirror and foster brave kindness and self-renovation, it won't come. It has to be created by people capable of manifesting what seems impossible or fearful or like something we just wish would, the necessity of which would just go away. But like COVID or like a violent white man who won't leave, it is something we have to deal with differently. we have to have boundaries of steel and foster holistic health. And the DC Court of Appeals, that Court of Appeals that just issued a ruling striking down the idea of immunity for the disgraced former president, is in some ways the first group to specifically say, no, you don't have that kind of absolute power. That not just immunity, although immunity sort of seemed to be a catch-all there. If you can do anything with impunity, then you have absolute power. And it seems like that is, he was asking to be pardoned. Or to be given the power to pardon anyone, including himself. He was asking for absolute power. He was saying, in fact, that he had it. And the thing is, he's been saying that for decades. And certainly, since he told us he would keep us in suspense, he's been telling us he's in charge. And unacceptable situations are acceptable if he's the one doing the bad thing, because it's maverick and tough guy, and it's telling it like it is. But I think we have to admit, if we're looking at it clearly, that he uses aggressive, shocking boundary violations of the kind where Hitler grabbed the pants of another country and grabbed the Sudetenland and was appeased because people just wanted Hitler just to stop and go away and didn't want to rock the boat and didn't want to tell him no. And I think it's pretty clear that Donald Trump is going for breaking Hitler's death toll. I think that he's going for conquest. He doesn't want to win, he wants to obliterate things. These are the analysis bursts of the media font at the mystery font. 42. I'm Tim, your host. That's right, that's what this place is. I'm Tim Cameron. This is the mystery font. 42. It's a theater and soundstage where we create the mystery font 42 Ope Intuit and theater and actual generated image special effects and music and public displays of affection is creating a storefront theater model that broadcasts sound from indoors to outdoor audiences and things of the same bandwidth of transcendence as that. Letting art be an advertisement for itself. Yes, and letting art be self-permitting in unexpected spaces in ways that brings hope and joy and love. Art is a public display of affection. Right. Yes, that's what this place is. That's right. I'm Tim, and I'm the host. I'm recovering executive function. All the time, really. I think we all are. I think that we are in an abusive relationship with Donald Trump. And there was a little break in the hokum today. In the last 24 hours, I guess it was the morning yesterday, a clarion ruling striking down Donald Trump's proposal of absolute immunity, that was a clap of germane, sane, fact-based reality. And people standing for truth, justice, and the American way. We are not going backwards. We are going to heal white supremacists and patriarchal terrorists, and we are going to heal the victims of those things other than the perpetrators as well. Mental health care is here to help. The whole world is here to help heal the grave wrongs and mourn and understand and move forward together. Because to do anything less or else would be uncivilized and unkind, anti-Christ, and cruel, and I think un-American. Truth, justice, and the American way. What is it to say we're a league? Truth, justice, and the American way. Let league be. If the new Colossus is not woke, we will not be able to protect the new Colossus. I'm calling on all of us. I'm calling on you at once. I'm calling the ominous, obvious, loving response that we manifest the new Colossus as a culture and a mission of reform, of slave patrols, and Jim Crow, and backwards, racist, patriarchal terrorist harm. Because we have all been victims of it, but only if those of us who have been at the helm of it relinquish and use our privilege to break that privilege open so that human family can be one. I love you and I'm in love with you, and these are the findings and analysis of the Mystery Fund. I believe this would be a good time to mention that sabotage and sedition are serious crimes. Tucker. Tuck off. And a bit of coffee. Goody, goody. Gumdrops. Goody, goody gumdrops. This is also something called radio science brain. You are the sentience, imagine the sentence, a life you engine. You are the sentience of mention, imagine this, imagine kindness, imagine your gifts contain kindness. Are the sentient frame, imagination aim might contain radio science brain. Radio science brain germane activation. You are the renovation of love's imagination. It came yesterday. You come like the sun arrives at the ocean. I'm following your genius like it's the mountain I'm come to play, remain. Radio science brain. This is the mindness we can contain with an activating agent can be named. Radio science brain, mind, nature, creature. Maybe we ache, maybe name it your name, maybe name it your name, or from a field exclaims radio science brain, and that might seem insane, but it might be the rain from all brains to all brains anyways. Radio science brain. Goodness gracious me. Everything all right out there, everybody? You are the renovation of this whole occupation. Let's find, by looking, let's dream by opening. Let's see by hoping. We can contain what's next. We can steward what's next. We can keep what we don't want to lose, or build new ways. I think we need to say no to the falsehood. I think a court saying it is very good, and even better is those of us who have checked the facts or who haven't lost the script or the planning and the tracks. We do not accept Project 2025 in America. No to Manifest Destiny. No to M. This is where we are. Donald is unfit for power because even the pretense of respect is beyond him. He cannot sustain respect for power. He has executive dysfunction. We are the reality distortion fielding. And it is citizens' duty to say something if we see something. And we will not be safe if we allow Project 2025 to come to pass. We have to apprehend them and help them get health care because they are a danger to themselves and to others. The Heritage Foundation and its neo-Nazis and collaborators are not safe. They are not good faith actors, and they are not safe. Day turns into day overnight. 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 Oh. 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 we can restore executive function. We can restore executive function. We can restore executive function.